Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Digital Hustle. I'm your co host, Mike, and I'm here with my co host, Joe. And today we're going to be talking about creating a podcast. So, Joe, let's talk about it. Let's dive right in. So, what have we experienced so far in creating this podcast? We're pretty new. We don't have that many episodes, but we definitely wanted to talk about, some of our experiences so far and how things have been going.
One of the things we can touch on this time is skills, like the kind of skills that we had to acquire along the way. So, like one thing is our camera presence. I don't know about you, I wasn't in a camera a whole lot before this, so getting comfortable with that. So, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, definitely. And you know a lot about this. I didn't really want to be on camera at all, actually. I didn't really feel like it was my space. But and I never really took that many pictures. I would take the silly picture with my friends and things like that all the time, and that's fine. But that's a little different. When you're putting something out there like this, you really kind of have to put your best foot forward, and sometimes that can make you nervous. Just because it is the internet, right? And everything's going to
Yeah,
go out there, and you got to show your personality and really kind of put yourself out there. And that's not something I necessarily wanted to do. But, once we did it and we started feeling comfortable with it, now it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. I actually enjoy it. We have fun with it now. And so, yeah, so you'd be surprised, what you learn about yourself and, what you're willing to do. What about
yeah,
you? How was your experience so far?
yeah, it's cool. It's a lot more chill than I thought it would be, and I think a lot of it is like I was thinking of how people would perceive it or see it, whereas now I just don't really like. I'm not gonna say I don't care, but it's more so I'm just sharing my experience. So it's like, I'm just talking freely.
Exactly. And that's no,
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. It's not that you
yeah,
don't care, but it's that like you're not going to let other people's
mm,
possible opinions about you
yeah,
stop you from, expressing yourself and your original and your own thoughts and everything like that.
yeah,
Which can be hard to do in the first place.
yeah. And this leads into like the next thing of like learning how to talk.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something we both still trying to even learn on podcasts.
And learning how to talk in a lot of different ways, right? Like, what about my
Yeah,
volume? Just that's one aspect of it too. Then the technical side of it is that good. Then just actually how you speak and the language you use and the words that you choose to use, and the speed and the tone and everything like that. And it all goes into
yeah,
your personality and your presence on camera and how you act and respond and things like that. Especially when you get caught off guard. How do you react in those moments? Because you are being filmed constantly, and you don't really think about it, but you do kind of still feel it. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I think that is a big thing too, is because I'm a lot of times we'll play the episode back after we've done it, and I'm like, oh, why did I say that? Things like that. And a lot of times it's just talking too fast.
Yeah.
So I think learning how to be in a conversation, not just be listening for your chance to start talking, but actually like listening, and then they'll actually give you a chance to like flow in the conversation, and it just moves a lot more freely. Something I had learned about.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes when you do that, your thoughts get ahead of you,
Yeah,
right? And then you
yeah,
mess up. And then, if you're not live and you can do post editing and things like that, you can, chop and edit it all together. But that, you want to avoid that as much as possible because that takes so much time, right? When people are editing videos and different clips, like sometimes they replay the same second or 2 seconds over and over and over and over and over again until they can get it just right. So it to be able to take some of that away from post production is really helpful. And so, the more you do it, the more you feel more confident in speaking, to an audience, even if it doesn't seem like there is one, there is one out there.
yeah. And I think part of that is having confidence in what you're talking about is a big part of that. It's like if you're not going to be confident in it, why are you willing to give people advice? Other than it's like more of the situation, like kind of where we are is, hey, we're just going along this journey and we're just telling you we don't know everything, but this is some of the stuff that we had to go through.
Exactly. It's kind of like a documentary that's kind of
Yeah,
really live time, but as we're going through it and you were just sharing our experiences and how things have worked or not worked for us, because we love the entrepreneurial aspect of it, and we want to make sure that we grow and we build and that we do, every time we do a set of these videos or a video, it's always going to get better, because we
yeah,
can always do something to make it better.
yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is that I generally like love this stuff. and it just makes me happy to talk about it. So it's like I'm not really worried about, oh, somebody's gonna fact check me on this, because in my mind, I've already fact checked myself 100 times. And
Yeah,
even if I'm wrong, I'm willing like to learn something. Like someone points
exactly.
out something like, oh man, yeah, you're right about that. Next time I'm gonna say this.
Yeah. Exactly. And you have to have that flexibility and understand,
Yeah.
one of the scary things is like, when you post something online, it is on there forever. And so, we've seen it in just in our age, like how things can change in the matter of 5, 10, 15 years. So, you could have an opinion about something and feel a certain type of way. And then, your opinion change, but people got you on video saying it was one thing way back in a different time, and things like that can be really tricky. And you want to, just like I was saying before, just put your best foot forward. Um,
Mm,
but you got to keep fine tuning those skills and things like that as you're doing them. Not have that worry. Just be yourself, and it'll come naturally, or it won't, right? And it's not your
yeah.
space.
Yeah.
We're still
Yeah.
we're still finding our own voice and everything like that. So it's definitely fun,
And
and it's definitely a lot of like project management type stuff too. Let's dive into that because that's a big part of this too. Making sure this whole production goes off and that we are able to actually provide content.
yeah. And And I think that's one of the things I'm still grasping on. So I use a lot of tools, like I like lists and things like that, but also like set days that you're going to do things. It kind of like builds that routine for us of, hey, we're going to meet every Tuesday and Thursday at this time, and it's like already built in my mind. So I think that's part of it, like having a set schedule. How's that been for you, like the project? 'Cause I know that's a lot of your side of the.
Yeah, and we starting to generate a little team and everything like that.
Yeah,
So, when we have our weekly meetings, we try to make the best use of everybody's time, right? Like we all kind of have our roles and our parts and we make sure everything is in order for us to be able to shoot because ultimately that's what it is, right? We have to get everybody's schedule. We have to get, all the scheduling, all the guests, all the technology ready. Sometimes even day of, you just have tech issues. And I'm a tech person, and so when I have tech issues, it's more frustrating, right? And sometimes you just turn it on and everybody's ready to go, and then you don't have enough storage. So, think little
yeah.
things like that can
That
hook you up, and then it sets everybody back. Even if it's a few minutes, everybody's mood shifts just a little bit. Some people, some of us can get it back really quickly. Some of us kind of have to warm back up into it. So, dealing with all those dynamics can be pretty crazy too.
and I like how you try to throw off the, thing being full, like you've seen happen before, you know, like, like remember we went to record our first episode, we get through the episode, storage goes bad,
Yeah.
or it's full, then we can't record, and it's like,
Yeah, or like my camera died that one
yeah,
time. You know what I mean? It's because it wasn't charged up and it was on a battery. And like I said, it's because especially when you have people right there in the room
yeah,
right now and everybody, how hard it is to schedule a few people, just to get everybody together. So, when something like that happens, it's a little like you can't let it really knock you off,
yeah,
off too much, but you just got to roll with, certain things. Or, even sometimes your dog will just barge into the room or something like that, hop on your lap, and it's just like, do I cut that or do I leave it in because it's so organic? And if you're able to just roll with it, it seems so much more natural and it'll provide a better experience for the viewers because it's more organic, versus then having to chop and edit if it jumps on your lap and you get super distracted, you know.
and I think that's a good wrap up for like our skill session, but maybe we talk about. I know one thing if I'm listening to, I'm like, man, what if I already got those skills? Like, hey, that's some stuff I already know. And like, I think the importance of fine tuning
Yeah.
things skills that you have. Because like me, I think I'm really good at telling stories and things like that. But fine tuning it to whatever specific audience you may be talking to. Like, I'm not going to always be talking to marketing people who understand Google Ads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
how is that best for you?
Yeah, no, you definitely have to, and that's something some people say about me sometimes. It's like when I'm training them for, certain thing in my field, like, they like, oh, you explain things really well. And it's like, well, I don't really think that. I just try to explain it several different ways where it's like one of these should stick, so it's not, it's definitely, if you understand it well enough, then you can explain it well enough. And if you can explain it well enough, then you should be able to teach it well enough. because a lot of the things we do aren't necessarily complicated, but they
Yeah.
can be pretty scary because they can be overwhelming. Just like any new job, new tool, or something you don't know, you got to take the time to learn it. But once you learn it, things start coming together, and and start flowing, and you understand how it's supposed to work.
And that flows right into our next section with the expectations. Uh, but like I think it's really important having realistic expectations. So, like, what was your expectations coming into like doing podcast?
Honestly, my expectation was to have fun. I expected for us to just have a good time going back and forth. And I expected it to be a lot of work, honestly, but I didn't expect it to be as much work as it is. Because it's so important to get it right. We've talked about a different episode before about, you don't have to make it perfect, and that's still true. You don't have to make it perfect because if you try to make it perfect, you're never going to put anything out. Right. But when you want to get it in such a position where you feel confident that you can put it out, and know, like we were talking about, things might change and stuff like that. But, when we put it out, we were 100% confident that this is who we are and this is how we feel and this is what, how we think. So, you
Yeah,
have to set those expectations realistically, because if not, you're going to hurt your own feelings.
because I remember when we were like first like working on even pushing it out, and it was like weeks we went by, and it's like because we're like I think our expectations is different. I'm more like, hey, throw it at the wall. If it sticks, it's good. And you're like, no, this is out there forever.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be like planned. But when we bring those together, that's how we're able to get it out, right? Like we need that urgency, and then we also need that detail. Once you kind of put those things together, you're able to, and then you find the right personalities and things like that, you're able to make something, whether people like it or not, it's really this is for us, it helps showcase who we are, how we think. And we just hope that when people see this, they're like-minded and that they appreciate a different voice, speaking on just things that they might have to deal with, in their journey.
I personally thought it was gonna blow up like really quick because I personally think everything I touch turns to gold sometimes. But I've come to realize in the beginning, you're not gonna get a whole lot of really like followers or people supporting you outside of like your close friends. And a lot of them may only be doing it just to support you.
Yeah. And that's okay, right? You still need
Yeah.
that, and that's a good thing. And you want friends like that. And then you have friends that don't even look at it, right? And I get that part too, because it's like, everybody is busy and they have their own things and they don't see it like they see other people's channels in their daily feed, whatever they even use, right? They might not even use platforms that we use. For instance, like Reddit is a big platform that a lot
Yeah.
of people use. I don't use it that much, but I have friends that send me links every day, about some Reddit, something that's on Reddit. But you still got to put yourself out there, put your content out there. Um, you know, I didn't think we would blow up, but I believe that, we're gonna grow, and as we
Yeah.
grow, our audience will grow and they'll see us grow. And so it'll be more organic and it'll feel real, and it is real. And I like it because it gives us an opportunity to document our journey. And we can look back on this and be like, okay, this is where we were at that time. I remember that, and things like that. And so that's why this is so much fun.
And that goes into the next thing of like having a promotional strategy is that of course someone else has to listen to it outside of your friends. So what's the best ways that you like from your perspective you've seen us promote it and you've seen some traction come from?
Yeah. So we've done a lot of like the
Yeah.
organic digital marketing stuff that we've talked about before, getting on all the social network platforms, and just putting your stuff out there. You got to know what type of content to post where, the different kinds of clips and all the different platforms and their regulations of what you can post and can't post. All those things can be pretty different. And so you just got to make sure that, regardless of what the content is, you want to make good content. That's not what I'm saying. But you want to make sure that, you abide by everything, because it's not always going to be the same. You can't always post the same content and all across the different platforms.
Yeah.
Um,
So how when you going into like the social media stuff, how do you set like I guess even expectations or your goals for that?
Yeah, so that, you just slowly get a following, right? You start with your friends and things like that. And then, you start posting it into different groups. There's different podcast groups that you can go on. LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, and there's these groups that you can post, and everybody's posting their content, and they want you to see it. And as you're posting yours, you're kind of scrolling through, and you're checking everybody else's out, and that's you never know who you'll just organically get by doing that. Right. And then we've done also paid promotions and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And so we've seen Spotify.
yeah,
We put some audio ads on Spotify. I mean, we saw some pretty good numbers, and we got a lot of
yeah.
data from that. And we'll jump into that here in a second, just in terms of the sheer amount of data that you're going to get back. But doing that opened our eyes to some other audiences that we didn't really expect that we might get. And so then you have to start paying attention to those metrics and things like that, and who's coming in, all the different ages, groups, where did they hear it, how are they coming in, how are they listening, and you have to start looking at that and analyzing.
Yeah, so once we got the data in, I think this is like I call myself like a data expert, or like I like diving into the data. So when we first come into the data, I guess talking about the importance of data. So I guess would you think we should start with the data topic, like a question or something?
Well, once you start putting it out there, a lot of the tools have the built-in stuff, right? So they have the built-in, like how many target impressions there was, how many people clicked on it, how many people actually, for how long was the duration of the viewer and things like that. And so you start going through those things and you start looking at those. But it's really, up to the user or the team like us, like what is important and what's not really important, but that depends on your goals, right? Like, are you trying to get just a bunch of people looking at your stuff, or you're actually trying to get people to click on your stuff? There's just different goals that you have. And with us, we started just doing it more. So we just wanted eyes on it, to just in hopes that young entrepreneurs see it and they like it, and they want to talk to us, and, we can build a community, and then, we can inspire each other to keep growing, because, there's a lot of ups and downs in this. And so you want to make sure, you know exactly what and where to place these things, your content.
And I think it was important that we went from like promotion and organic directly into this because I think that's like one of the main goals of even doing advertising or anything is trying to collect data. Like without data, without something empowering your decisions, you're kind of just throwing things out there all the time. So like you said, like it coming in, knowing what to do with it, the best ways to use it, and things like that. So with the data that we got from Spotify, what are some of the ways that you think we could use it? I guess we could go there.
Well, we've talked about
Yeah.
actually putting some money into buying ads, and setting Google ads and different things like that on different platforms. But you use that data to know who your listeners were, and where the interest came from. And then you can look at each video. So if one of your videos did drastically better than one of your other videos, why? You got to analyze that. Was it because of X, Y, or Z, or was it because of A, B, C? And once you figure that out, you can start creating content uh, that you're gonna set as an ad for those type of topics and things like that. That's where how you take that data and you analyze it and you pump it back into a way that it'll help you, um, because those are the user that you want to keep coming back.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it's like platform specific too. Like you kind of have to know what data you're going to get out of what type of platforms because there's so much out there. Like Spotify is only going to give you so much, Facebook only give you so much, so much. So I guess knowing where to go and use it and then a place of housing it all together is a big thing.
Yeah, because it's going to be so much coming in from the different
Yeah.
platforms, and you need to have some kind of system in place to figure out like what's useful and what's not useful. And then you take that, like you said, to drive decisions, whether that's decisions for marketing, whether that's decisions for content or advertising. It all just
Yeah.
depends.
And I think it's important to say you want enough time to go out to. So I normally say, hey, you need like a month or two to even like start making projections just because there's so many waves and patterns that can just happen. Like for instance, we started right in December and it was a holiday time. Like the response we got at that time, might most people may not even have got that response if they didn't even start that period. Like so they say they started in the peak like school time.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah,
we started releasing our content when everybody was at home. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
everyone's just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, looking for new content. And that was part of the strategy, right? Like
yeah,
we discussed that as a team, we talked about it and made sure, like, we strategically started releasing things a certain way.
Yeah. And I
Yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say I think that's a good example of a time we use data because just in our marketing business that we do all the time is just that's just something we know of. Hey, with the patterns we see typically with our clients and things like that during December during this week, everyone's gonna be home relaxing. Let's just use this data and apply it to this.
Exactly. You got to take
It,
advantage of those
it,
opportunities when you can. But you also got to do the research into that stuff, right? Like you got to start your mind has to start spinning on like, those kind of things. And if you don't know, start Googling it or start searching it. How do I get this content out to these users? And there's a ton of videos, there's a ton of stuff specifically, there's email marketing campaigns, there's Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, all these different kind of things that you can do. It's a little hard to know what the best one to do is. But that's why, like you were saying, you kind of throw everything out there and see what's what and where it's going to stick. Because, if you throw it on TikTok and you throw it on Instagram, right? And TikTok blows up and Instagram, you get almost nothing. You know where to start, guiding the boat, right? Um, but that's how you got to just be flexible with your data, be flexible with your content and your thinking, and be adaptable to all the different stuff you're going to get because you might end up getting an audience that you didn't expect, and then that might even gear some of your content towards that, and you might find a whole new route to start going.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good wrap up. I wanted you and it was good that you did a lot of that talking this episode. I wanted because this was a new experience for you. So I think it's good that you can resonate with everyone of like, hey, this is kind of my process of going through it and how it's been kind of doing it. So I
Yeah,
think
no,
it's
I
exciting.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely, this whole experience has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. I've developed a lot of new skills. I've even added more hats to the head, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
But I love to share anything I can, and just share my experiences. That way, you guys can, share yours. But as always, thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah.
Joe, thanks for your time. As always, hope you listen next time. Thanks.
All right.